Okay, great. Good afternoon, one and all. It's a proud privilege to have Mr. Shailendra Goswami sir with us for this webinar. Shailendra Goswami sir is a mentor to us since last many couple of years, and I'll just brief you about his profile. Goswami sir is a bachelor in metallurgy from COEP in the year 1974. Post that, he has completed his PGDBM in marketing from IIM Bangalore in the year 1977. Immediately after that, he served Kirloskar Oil Engine Limited and retired as a specific business unit head in the year 1992. Post that, he has started his own entrepreneurial venture, and he is working as a chairman and managing director at Pushkaraj Engineering Enterprises Private Limited from last 2.5 decades. And he is also advisory board member to MMCOE, to many IT companies, manufacturing industries, many management institutes in and around Pune. And it's a proud privilege to have you with us, sir. And it is always a mentoring and guiding session from you. So hopefully looking for a better session today. And with this, I would request you to please take on the charge and guide us, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Sir,
you
just
very much.
one request, sir.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, all the participants are requested, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat box. We'll take the questions at the end of the session. And please also keep yourself on mute. Thank you so much. Goswami, sir, please take on the
yeah,
session.
thank you. Let me first of all thank MMCOE for giving me this opportunity once again. And as I said, I'm facing you digitally, which I'm not used to very often. But then over the last 60, 65 days, I have learned to face people digitally. They see me, I can't see you. And that is very, very torturous. Nevertheless, I think I will try to do justice to what I'm supposed to do in next 30 to 35 minutes and touch the topic, challenges and opportunities during and after COVID-19. I have added that word during because I have been speaking on this topic. I think this one is fifth or sixth in a row with different platforms. And initially, when we started with lockdown one, we had an anticipated period of lockdown uh, for maybe 15 days, 20 days, 25 days, something like that. But then it has been stretching, and that is where in mid-course I added that word during, because then I don't know how long this during is going to last. So therefore, there are challenges and opportunities during the lockdown also, and certainly after the COVID-19 that we have been discussing. Now, to start with, yes, we always say that there are two, there are news, good news and a bad news. So we start with the bad news, and the bad news is that we are going to face several challenges. We are facing several challenges for last so many days. And I'm going to list out various challenges. And before getting into the challenges, we need to understand the dynamics of what is this COVID-19. What are the definitions as given by the government, and how we are bound by the protocol laid down by the guidelines or the GRs issued by the government. And the first of the challenges is how to really control this pandemic. First and foremost, how would we control this pandemic? This is going to be $1 million question. And I don't think anybody has an answer to that. Well, everyone has statistical data to be backed up that this country did that, that country did this particular thing, etc., etc. But then certainly when we restrict our imagination to our own country, yes, today nobody can really say that this pandemic is going to last for so long. Yes, a vaccine is going to be something which is going to be deciding factor, but then that is also not in sight. So today, for all purposes of our discussion next 30 minutes, we say that we are not very sure when this pandemic is going to get over. And that is where we need to get through our definitions very, very clearly as given by the government guidelines. So government initially started with defining the entire country in zones, that is red zone, orange zone, and green zones. And on a country basis, they started that. On a state level, we had zones. So Maharashtra becomes a red zone. On a district level, we have had Pune as a red zone. Along with Pune, we have Mumbai. Then we have Malegaon, Nashik, so many other districts which are falling under red zones. And The moment you come to that zoning, the restrictions are very, very tight as far as red zone is concerned. They are more relaxed as far as orange and green are concerned. So when we are talking of Pune and Maharashtra, we are in red. So let us focus how further on what exactly that red zone contributes to as far as Maharashtra is concerned, or on a district level, we are also in a red zone, because the zoning is done based on the number of occurrences in a given period. And then that curve, the moment it gets flattened out, the zone color changes, or it tapers down, the color changes. But then Pune hasn't seen that kind of a curve as yet. We are just still trying to reach our peak, and that is where we still get classified in red zone. But then the issue came up in between after having done lockdown for so long. Like I have been saying, it lives and livelihood. So economy versus pandemic. Which one should be given priority? One should not be at the cost of the other. And that is where the government started giving certain guidelines. The state government gave guidelines, and the district collectorates started giving guidelines that within the district, even if Pune is classified under red, then they started defining it further as to containment and non-containment. And in the lockdown 4, we had this containment and non-containment. And in lockdown 5, what people call it as unlock 1.0, or what our chief minister calls as beginning of new era, or let us begin. We have started defining it further down to micro containment zones. So if you have a building or an apartment building of around 6 to 7 stories, and only one particular floor is affected by this COVID, then a micro containment zone is restricted only to that particular floor, and the other floors they get relaxations. So that is how the economic activity or relaxations have come into being, and people have started moving out. So today when we are moving, like for example, I stay in a locality, Karvenagar. Karvenagar has not experienced, is the lowest as far as this COVID is concerned. And officially registered case as given by the mayor, who belongs to this area only, is that only one case has come out in Karvenagar. And that is where right from the beginning, we haven't felt really the hardships of lockdown as much as people in the center of the city have felt it, who are totally in containment. And then there are a whole lot of micro containment zones. Nevertheless, geographically, if we really look at it, 97% of Pune city is free to do things of their own. So there are relaxations which have been given to this 97% geographically. Only 3% of those territories which have been defined in terms of wards are getting affected because of this pandemic. And that is where the restrictions are very many. There is a curfew and all kinds of things. Whereas on the relaxed wards, we have curfew only from the 9 p.m. in the evening till 5 a.m. in the morning. So virtually 5 a.m. onwards till 9 p.m. in the evening, we have been doing our businesses as usual. Now, having understood this definition, we know that moment of materials, moment of workforce, or supply of essentials, or supply of normal goods, etc., etc. There are guidelines have been given for non-containment zone, or for that matter, relaxed zone. And that is how I think by now we have learned to really find our ideal, you can say, path on doing our activity. I think each one of us will have to evolve that path based on this zoning pattern, or based on these containment, micro containment, or non-containment areas, and start working out. Otherwise, you will fall under that clause 188, where you will be punished under IPC codes and things like that. So we are not, we are basically law-abiding citizens. So the more number of cases emerging out of Maharashtra state are just not a scene. We have been obeying, and that is how the disease has been contained. And the reasons for we getting into red zone are very well known. That is not the subject today. So we will not get into that. But then, yes, we are law-abiding citizens, and that is where we study the documents given by the government and then try to work out our ways and means of doing business or economic activity or jobs or whatever one gets busy into. Now, having understood this definitions, let us go into the areas where the economic activity begins. Now, the economic activity begins by manufacturing, or for that matter, industry, or for that matter, jobs. Most of the IT companies have decided to make their staff work from home. I think most of them have taken the decision right in the month of April itself that till July they will work from home, and later on they will decide the percentage of people who would be working from home. So offices, or for that matter, IT companies or the companies who can really do work from home, they have not been subjected to that kind of vagaries as what the manufacturing industry has been going through. And that is where I am taking certain extreme manufacturing examples only, because then that is the worst case. Rest all becomes much easy to understand. So when we are talking about restoring an operation, is the second most challenge that we face. And in restoring of operations, we have the biggest hurdle that we have it today is the workforce. Now, workforce has three elements in that. One was the migrant laborers. Second one was the people who were coming, who are supposed to come from the containment zones. And the third one was the limit which the government has put down as 33% of the workforce only allowed in the industrial areas to work. So there are three restrictions as far as workforce are concerned. Now, the migrant laborers, we all know more than 12 or 13 lakh people have left the scene and then gone to their own villages. And these were the people who were very, very skilled and crucial elements in our society, who were engaged in manufacturing, who were engaged in service providing, who were engaged in all kinds of our day-to-day activities, without whom I think there are a couple of activities like construction, you can say, or paper distribution, or a dairy, milk distribution, or things like that. They have come virtually to a standstill. And these were the people who were running certain services in major metros like Bombay. And Bombay is the worst affected as far as migrant laborers are concerned. So this migrant labor who has really gone back to their villages after all that chaos, I don't think they will be coming back in next 2 to 3 months' time at least, unless the shoe pinches very badly and then they find their ways to come back and then get their own jobs. But then there are other problems which we will discuss also. The second aspect is the containment zone. They are the people who cannot travel to the workplace, or they cannot do anything till such time that containment tag is lifted from their zone or from their ward. So these are the people who will not be there. And the balance 67% people are not going to be there. So what we are discussing is only 33% of the lot, which comes from non-containment and which is not migrant. And that combination of workforce may not make a complete set to carry out a full activity. And this is where the exact problem is, that I may have out of a team of 10 people, maybe 4 or 5 missing. So that team is going to be useless as far as production is concerned, or productivity is concerned, or churning out a product is concerned. And this is where we are going to have a challenge of restoring of operations with respect to workforce. The second problem, which I used to discuss a lot earlier, was the liquidity. But liquidity has been eased out by the financial packages which have been announced by the government, although the bureaucracy is taking its time to really see to it that the disbursement takes place. But then I think banks are very, very proactive. They have been getting their directions from RBI, and the government is very, very proactive on this, that they must support MSMEs. All the packages which have been announced, the latest was 20 lakh crores, $270 billion, which really focused on farmers and MSMEs. And that is where that money is going to be a lot of help to all the MSMEs who are really struggling on the cash flows. So liquidity, I will not discuss, because in liquidity, we had several things. All those things have been taken care of. For example, EMIs have been extended, moratorium have been given, PF, ESI, government is going to fund it out. interest burden, they have said that yes, you can pay it later, or for that matter, TDS or GST or all those statutory levies which were there for whose meaning compliances which were there, the dates have been extended, etc., etc. So generally, all those things they fall under liquidity or cash flow. I feel that a big support has been given by the government, and it is the MSME is breathing good air in that area. The next challenge, which I personally feel, is the supply chain management and logistics. Logistics part of it has been cleared by the government, in which the cargo movement, domestic, inter-district or interstate, or for that matter, countrywide, and overseas consignments, imports are taking place, exports are going, and domestic truck movement has started. So logistics also has eased out a bit. Yes, there are delays because again, the drivers were again migrants. Uh, the driver category comes mostly from the migrant laborers, and those people have gone to the villages, so those many trucks are not operating. Finding replacements are not going to be that easy a job. So again, there also percentage of such workforce available for cargo movement is going to be less. Therefore, there are going to be delays. For example, when we are importing consignments in my own company, earlier we used to do that maybe within 2 weeks' time, a consignment coming from US directly to our office. But today it could take any time between 3 to 4 weeks to reach our place. And from here, going and delivering it to locally a customer in Bhopal or in Delhi, it will take another 2 weeks. So a time earlier, which was roughly around 3 weeks, now has become 6 weeks. But I think this, I take it as a temporary phase where we will suffer, but ultimately we will get over this as we are learning, or rather we are going up on the learning curve as far as management of businesses in this COVID situation. So the logistics is definitely going to improve. The biggest part is the supply chain management. In supply chain management, I have been always giving this example that if right from raw material to a finished product, if I define a chain linkages of 10, all the linkages have to vibrate, or for that matter, they have to operate in sync. If one of the linkages does not operate, the entire chain gets blocked. And this is the biggest problem. And all these linkages are nothing but MSMEs. The tier 1s, the tier 2s, the tier 3s, they are all MSMEs. And MSMEs were struggling, and they will take time to revive themselves up, and therefore the entire supply chain may get disturbed for a while. Ultimately, it will improve. But then this remains a challenge for this thing. After having done all these things, meaning I have taken care of the manufacturing part of it. In that, one more thing which gets added in manufacturing is that we have to follow the protocols of sanitization of the premises, social distancing, and wearing of masks. Our layouts are not designed for social distancing in normal sense, and therefore how we are going to really address this social distancing in manufacturing where the layouts are formed, or rather layout are fixed, is a big question, and people are struggling and then trying to find ways and means. Maybe some people will come in a day shift, the other people will come in a night shift or something like that. That means the adjustments will have to be done, and we are basically innovative people, so I think we will find some ways and means of doing that. And after having taken care of these manufacturing elements, 4 of them, now the best part is the demand management, because all those other 4 elements in manufacturing are totally under our control, but the demand is not under our control because demand comes from elsewhere. And it's people like you and me who really constitute that demand audience. And we all behave entirely differently. In a situation like this, most of us are keeping all our investments within ourselves, and then we are not thinking of investment. Nobody is thinking of making capital investments like several other projects which we had envisaged prior to pandemic. Now, most of the people have been either canceling the orders or they have been postponing the decisions because of the liquidity, cash, demand, and so on and so forth issues which are really getting faced by them on a day-to-day basis. So demand management is going to be the biggest of the challenges. Because I was talking to one of my friends in Chennai who runs an aluminum pressure die casting factory. He says, sir, there are 33% people who are coming, but the demand is only 10%. What do I do? Because if the demand does not go beyond a particular this thing, the viability of that particular operation is not there. So even if the 33% people coming there, catering to 10% of demand, the balance sheet goes haywire. So these kinds of problems are definitely going to be there. And if I really look at a particular sector, which all of us are very, very familiar, that is automotive sector, I think we all will agree that we haven't even taken a decision to buy a scooter even in last 3 months, or for that matter, dispose of a scooter and buy a new one. So forget about buying cars or buying trucks or things like that. So automotive sector, if we really look at it on the demand side, last 18 months before pandemic, we had a slowdown in which a degrowth of almost 20 to 25% was there. And with this pandemic, I think 3 months of this financial year has already gone. Another 6 to 7 months will go. So that means this year is also gone. Another degrowth of around 20 to 25%, which means in almost 30 months, 30 months, we are going to suffer a setback of almost 50% on our total demand side. And you can imagine what would be the kind of balance sheets those companies will be projecting when you are being hit by almost 50% less revenues. Now, this are the biggest of the challenges as far as restoring of the operations are concerned. Now, when we are talking of challenges, I also feel that these challenges have evolved out of the pandemic, which we have been experiencing for the last 2.5 months. But then we already had a couple of challenges, what I classify as vulnerabilities, which gets added to these many challenges. Now, what are those vulnerabilities? Well, we had a lot of dependency on a few sectors of the industry, like automotive, the government sector, or XYZ sectors. We had chosen a very, very easy way out to succeed in business. And that is where the vulnerability lies, and then people need to really look at a much wider spectrum of markets. There is another vulnerability we had that we have been discussing Industry 4.0, digitalization for Industry 4.0. What is Industry 4.0? Is the fourth generation of manufacturing. The first generation was manual, handlooms, or then the second generation was with PLC-based semi-automatic. The third generation was fully automatic. And the fourth generation is cyber-physical, in which the machines talk to machines with the onset of the technologies from IT, like artificial intelligence, IoT, these combinations put together. We run a complete production process. And this, if it had been instituted earlier, today, even if we had this problem of workforce, maybe the production levels would not have suffered as much as what we are suffering it today. So the vulnerability of we not migrating into Industry 4.0 in time is going to really hit us in these times as far as manufacturing is concerned. Then we had a very, very low footprint as far as global manufacturing value chain was concerned. We were more an inward-looking society. We feel comfortable on our domestic businesses, and the moment we talk about businesses on a global scale, people are scared of doing that. So that vulnerability remains, because we cannot become a profitable organization or a bigger organization unless we really cater to the global markets for a similar product, or for the product that we are producing. Otherwise, what happens? The reverse flow starts. If we do not build up capacities to manufacture these products, somebody else comes in. Because of the access, the world has become flat, no boundaries. The World Trade Organizations are there, who have framed up policies in which transactions have to take place. Balance of trade has to be there, yes, but we can see that there is no balance of trade between India and China. China keeps exporting, and we don't export as much. So all these factors, they come into being, and that is where we need to have a global footprint whenever we are thinking of doing businesses. And this is one of the most challenging vulnerabilities we had it earlier. India is known for its talent in engineering and design and development or for that matter, intellectual property. But then we do not spend too much time in really capitalizing on that. For example, the attitude of patenting the designs or attitude of obtaining patents for the research that we have done, we certainly lack on that. I'll give an example. Normally, I keep going to various of our principals in US and Europe. And in most of the places, at least I can name one principal in Chicago where I keep going there. Just after the reception, there is a big wall. On that wall, there are hundreds of patents nicely framed and put in there. They take pride in that. And certainly that gives them recognition that, yes, we have 100 patents. And because of that, that shows the strength of the company in doing some original designs and development and things like that. So although we have capabilities of doing designs, we are famous or other experts in creating intellectual property, we do not capitalize that. Or for that matter, we do not create patents out of it. We must, this is one of those vulnerabilities which I thought I should be listing to the entire list of challenges that we had it. Now, having covered that, what exactly is the focus that we should have, having understood the challenges and this thing? We need to be a global, as I said, we need to have a global footprint. For having a global footprint, we need to increase our scalability. By scalability, I mean that today, if I give an inquiry for 100,000 pieces to somebody, he simply shrugs and he says, well, I will not be able to do 100,000 pieces for exports. Whereas if I give 100,000 to Taiwan, they say that this is too small a quantity. Do you understand the meaning? Meaning there are people whom I have seen having visited China, that they produce certain products. For example, a bearing, an axle bearing is produced in China 1 million pieces per day. It doesn't take orders less than that. And there are several such products which they work on million pieces per day. And today we don't do million pieces in a year. And that is the rate that one is talking. And therefore, if we need to be a player of recognition as far as global scenario is concerned, we need to address scalability of our manufacturing and productivity norms, therefore. And the next one which comes is for improving the scalability is the modular manufacturing. That we have set lines which really are not very, very flexible. So we need to define flexible manufacturing lines which will accommodate maybe 8 to 10 products without loss of too much of setup times. And that understanding, if it gets developed in manufacturing and manufacturing engineering, then I think the investments could be low, because then we are using the same line to produce 10 products. And then at the same time, with lower setup times, you can churn out variety of product mix. And that is very, very important in these days, because you cannot say that a particular model will get sold for next 6 months. No. Somebody might come for a model X, another one person will come for model Y. So you cannot keep changing unless you have a flexible manufacturing modules which are installed this thing. Another aspect is the process innovation that we need to have. That is where I think this becomes part of that industry 4.0, which we have been discussing, that our processes are all outdated. We need to really come up. And all this I'm talking in relation to the scalability, in relation to the globalization, because that is how you will survive henceforth, because there is going to be a competition globally. If we don't go out, somebody is going to come in. And even if he comes in under Make in India setup, he is going to be a threat to us. So we need to really prepare ourselves. And why this point I'm harping again and again, I will come in the later half of my presentation, where I am going to touch the aspects of China versus India. And this is where I think we need to have a good process innovation to really cope up with the requirement of this thing. As we discussed, logistic efficiency and excellence is been a bone of contention always. We need to improve on that. And we need to have our representation in strategic overseas locations. The focus has to be there. If we need to be global players sitting here in India, we cannot do business in the US or Europe or anywhere. For that matter, sitting in Pune, I can't do business in Delhi. I need to have somebody in Delhi. So we have area offices or we have representatives or things like that. So when we are talking of globalization, we need to really have our presence in strategic marketplaces which are there all around the world or all over India or wherever our markets are. Um, as I have been harping again and again, we have to change our approach and strategies of more inward looking to more outward looking, because growth is something which has to be there on the goal post of every organization, that we need to grow. We don't do business only for survival, we do business for growth. And that growth, we always keep talking, but then we do not take actions commensurate to that objective. Now, having said or maybe the bad news part of it or the negative parts of it, I will touch the positive aspects of this is the opportunities which have come out of this pandemic. And one of the list of opportunities are plenty, but then I'm going to cover certain major ones, which should, I think, boost our morale here. There is no reason to get dejected because, as I have been always saying, a door closes, 10 doors open. It is your own intellect or wisdom to really find out which are those 10 doors which have opened, and rather than cribbing about the door which has closed on you. And I am a staunch optimist, so I always believe in that. In every problem situation, I've tried to find an opportunity, and I have survived the last 43 years based on that only. That no problem has ever threatened me on my survival. I have always come out of it in whatever manner, ethically, of course. And that is the crux of the situation. So there are going to be a list of opportunities. Let us address a couple of them. The known opportunities which most of the people have been discussing is that relocation of plants from China to somewhere. I'm using that word somewhere because there is a lot to that somewhere. It's not only India. Because China had strained their relationships with America on trade balance. And since then itself, almost 12 to 18 months before it had started, and we started feeling that a lot of American inquiries have started coming our way. It must have gone to several other countries also, but then we felt that increment in RFQs coming from America, and that was because of trade imbalance. And now that most of the people are blaming China for this particular pandemic, I think the sentiments have gone totally against them, and not many people would like to take another chance with Chinese. And therefore, the numbers are coming in various newspapers and things like that, 1,000 companies, 500 companies, 200 companies from Japan and things like that. So the primarily Japan, Korea, Europe, and Americans. These are the four targets which we have to look at, who are thinking of relocating their companies from China to somewhere else. Now, this is a big presumption, because shifting a company from a place to another place is not a very easy task. It requires 10 to 12 months, because point number one, that is only a physical aspect. There is a financial aspect to it. There are millions or billions of dollars which have been spent to create that facility for catering to the global markets. How would we come out? And breaking relationships is always a loss-making proposal. You're going to incur those losses. And then if you are going to incur those losses, who is going to compensate that? The Japanese government came forward and they announced an aid of some $1 billion, a couple of $1 billion to the Japanese manufacturers. And therefore, the Japanese manufacturers have started taking that initiative of relocating themselves from China to somewhere else. Now, the second aspect of that is that relocation physical. Second is the financial aspect. What about the cost of the part which was getting manufactured or the equipment which was getting manufactured? If I relocated to some other destination, would that destination give that same part at similar pricing, if not the same? Whether they will give me the scale or the volumes the way Chinese people were giving, or whether they will give me the deliveries the way Chinese were giving. I am an importer of parts in our electronic factory ourselves. So I know for sure that these parts are available in India. But then the kind of pricing that we get from China is phenomenal. That's where we go to imports from China. But then that is where I always say that cost is the biggest factor as far as relocation of that factory from China to anywhere else is concerned. Now, when we are trying to address that somewhere else, Now, who are the contenders in that? India is certainly one of them, which we are trying to pitch proactively. But then there is Indonesia, there is Thailand, there is Taiwan, and Vietnam. Now, these four in Asian region are there to compete with us. Three of them to compete with India. But then there is another aspect which is coming. Talking to our European principals, they keep saying that it would be easier for them logistically to get the parts from their neighboring countries, which were earlier East European countries, like Hungary, Turkey, or for that matter, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Slovakia. Those countries, they are not low-cost countries, or for that matter, cost-effective countries. But then if we really take a total cost and then take a long-term view, those companies might give out a package which they might like it. Rather than coming from Vietnam or India, they might prefer to get a part from Poland or Slovakia or Czechoslovakia into Germany. So this is one aspect which one has to think about. Take an example of an American company relocating from China. Why would he go again in Asia? They might think of putting it in Mexico or Brazil, in South American countries. They might offer technology support there, and then they build up the bases. In fact, there are a whole lot of factories which are there in Brazil and Mexico. Of course, politically, they are very, very unstable. So there could be some elements of doubt as far as shifting it to South American countries are concerned. But then, yes, these considerations could come about, because who is the lesser devil? That is what is going to be a question. That who is better than China? So if Brazil is better than China, Americans will look at that. If Mexico is better than that, it's just across the border, so they will look at that. But then, yes, amongst all these countries, if I really have to stand out as an Indian or India as a country, then yes, we have that capacity. We have those brains. We have proven our prowess in IT. And today, virtually, we are controlling in that domain the world market on IT and IT services. And in the same manner, we have the design, development, prototyping, testing facilities here in India and capabilities, which not many of these countries can compete with us. And this is where I feel that we will get an edge. So if I say there are 100 companies going to locate, if we pitch in, say, maybe a 40% share amongst that, I think we should be happy to start with. Why pitch 40 when the government is going to support us? Because government is taking a very, very proactive measure. At the level of Prime Minister, he's creating a white paper in which diplomatic efforts are going on, embassy to embassy, contacts are being made, presentations are being shared, white paper is being created to create facilities in India and to frame up policies for ease of business, ease of doing business in India, in which there will be a lot many things which will be involved. Land will be there, finance availabilities will be there, foreign direct investment relaxations will be there, single window approvals will be there, expediting the approvals will become much faster, etc., etc. So the industry and government, if they come together, or rather they are going to come together, because government has extended their hand, industry should not fall back on that. And if industry and government put together, we pitch in a particular proposal with the kind of bureaucracy or the intelligent people we have it in the bureaucracy, I think we should be able to snatch a deal very, very comfortably in the international competition, although it is prevalent this thing. So people are not going to take decisions based on only cost and quantity and delivery or things like that. It is going to be more of a strategic thing. The biggest part of India's, which goes in India's favor, is that India is a democratic country. There is a democratically elected government, and the IPR is safe, and people have been working here, expats have been living here, and they are pretty safe here. So not to get into that further, I think India could become a chosen or a preferable destination, provided we work proactively and we look at the areas which we discussed earlier, in all the challenges, in the vulnerabilities and the focuses which I have defined. If we really get rid of our vulnerabilities, if we improve on our focuses, and if we get over our challenges, I think we are in for the game. Because getting a particular company to come to India is fine, but then making a success out of that is going to be a test of time. And that is where we as countrymen or citizens of India will have to slog, or industry of India has to slog and see to it that the reputation of the country is not put at stake. And now you can really put both those things which I was talking in sync with what I have been discussing on relocation. It is not that simple that close China and bring it to India. No, it is going to be very, very tough. China is not going to sit back very idly, mind you. It is not going to be very easy. Now, there is a second aspect to that. Do we have a fight against China? Frankly speaking, there are not many issues. The fights which are there are all strategic. Whether we take political or whether we take the geographical, Ladakh or Nepal or things like that. You know, they are all strategical to derive certain benefits on the table while we are having a dialogue between two countries. So we have nothing to lose as far as China is concerned in the present context. But then, yes, we will lose very heavily if we show an open animosity or, for that matter, confrontation with China, in the sense that we do a lot of raw material import from China. We do a lot of machinery import from China. We do a lot of equipment imports from China. And today, overnight switching to make in India is not going to be possible even there. So we will take a year or two to really make that Make in India plan successful. And that is when we need to be very intelligent enough to deal with China. On one side, we must create an alternate strategy of doing Make in India, substitution or replacement products. At the same time, engage China on a dialogue and maintain our independence and sovereignty. So this is not a job of an industrialist or job of a common man. This is a job of the government. I think government is capable of doing that. So we leave their jobs to them. We do our jobs of creating facilities, creating scales, creating good products, creating manufacturing bases, and working in an environment which will attract people from overseas. Now, the second opportunity which is going to get opened is for exports. Naturally, we being a cost-effective country, naturally we will get that opportunity to export. So we need to really be very, very proactive in approaching those clients all over the world and saying that, yes, in India, we have following strengths, and then you please look at us for doing businesses in future. So these are the two areas which I thought could become an opportunity. They're very, very big opportunities. Now, getting companies into India from China, of US or European origin will not only create employment, it will upgrade our technologies, it will engage our industry, it will create an ecosystem, demand generation will go up, so the industry, entire industry will rev up. And therefore, this is going to be a challenge which is government is taking it up with themselves, and industry should not lag behind on that. I am very hopeful that we will strike on that. Now, the other opportunities which have opened up because of this pandemic, we have seen that the opportunities created in the areas of healthcare, for example. Now, there were certain articles where I read that India in the years to come could become one of the largest exporters of equipment, medicines, pharma, or whatever in the healthcare domain in the world. The hydroxychloroquine was the classic example that we were the producers of that particular tablet, which even America invented that. So healthcare is an area which has opened up. So whatever is the loss in GDP that we are having from manufacturing in other industrial sectors could be built up by the healthcare exports or healthcare product manufacturing, whether it could be ventilators, masks, or PPE kits, or if we really look at a room of a hospital, there are more than 40 to 50% electronics is there. So medical electronics could become a name of the game. Instruments, equipments, medical electronics could be another area where the manufacturing would suddenly rev up and create all kinds of demands. Another product that we got survived on last 60 to 70 days was the processed food. So food processing has really opened up very well because the fresh vegetables were not available. So whoever got processed food, I think we managed with that. And therefore, now we have understood the importance of processed food. So food processing could become another industry which could really give a lot of benefits and revenue to the industry as such. And in any case, a lot of agricultural produce that we have, it goes waste because of the temperatures, because of the rains, or for that matter, because of not proper cold storage facilities, etc. So food processing could become or a good industry as such. Another industry which has emerged out of this pandemic is the e-commerce. I think all of us have got used to clicking on Amazon and getting what we wanted in last 3 months. And e-commerce is definitely going to become another area opening up for opportunities. So people wanting to make their careers should look at these areas also, not only industry as such, but then these are the areas where one can contribute and in whatever manners one can. Now, having put down all the factual positions, let me sum up. How do I sum up? The basics in summing up, I always say that you need to be optimistic. Yes, there is a problem. You don't need to get bogged down by that particular problem. And you need to be very optimistic, and you need to have hopes of getting over that particular problem and hopes of bouncing back. So we need to be very, very optimistic. There is another element that everyone is talking. It has become a jargon, so I will use the same word, that we have to learn to live with this COVID, because there is nothing like that this COVID is going to, like the year end, COVID is going to end on 31st of December. No, it's going to last. The people have been giving all kinds of numbers. It could last for next 2 years. It could last forever, or things like that. So we have to learn to live with COVID, and which means what? We have to take care of ourselves. We have to live to really take the advantage of what we have been discussing. So we need to learn to live with COVID, and definitely have to have that hope that as a country we will bounce back. Although the GDPs have been lowered down around 1% for this year, for the last year, then the projection for the next year have been very, very buoyant, and government is thinking of around 7% plus on GDP. That means they have certain plans, and they also know, they have made their calculations of doing businesses in the domains that we have been discussing. So let us be hopeful, and I'm very hopeful for that matter that yes, we are going to come out of that. The emerging market scenario post-COVID will demand a new approach and strategies, that I have been saying, that there is a reset button which has been pushed, and then we will have to reset all our thinking, our mindset, our attitudes, on our ways of living, our ways of doing business, and things like that. So consider this as an opportunity to really cleanse our system, and then think differently post-COVID, because that is one area which is, and the company which leads with this kind of a thinking and cater to the products as required by the market will only survive. We cannot be away from our demand centers. We cannot produce something which the market doesn't want. So we have to be demand focused, we have to be market focused. So whoever does that kind of business, for example, Mahindra started manufacturing ventilators, or Ashok Leyland manufactured ventilators, Ferrari started manufacturing masks. Of course, that may not become their main line, but then they are really endorsing the concept that you need to produce or rather create products driven by the markets also. So having said so, there is something which was said by the chairman of the FICCI in one of the webinars which I attended, and I liked it very much, that we are talking of change. So many things are going to change. We are anticipating a lot many changes. So she said that when the winds of change are blowing, there are people who construct walls, but there are some others who install windmills. Now you can see there are two different schools of thought. One is totally negative, another one is totally positive. So I am of the opinion that we should be installing the windmills to take care of the blows of the wind and come out of this pandemic. Thank you very much. I'm open for the questions.
Great, sir. What a powerful, power-packed session, sir. Thank you so much for the insights. We are rather also very positive in the aspects of COVID, And we are also from the thought school, which you guided us that we will also be installing the windmills. Sir, now we'll take some questions from the chat box. Our principal, Dr. S.M. Deshpande, sir, has puts on questions. First is e-learning platforms, apps will open up another window, and also the food processing industry will generate jobs. When this type of jobs are will be available in the market. So this is the question, sir.
Yes, e-commerce I touched upon. Anything related to so e-learning will definitely be there. And I just learned from Dr. Deshpande that you have already commenced your year on from 1st June on e-learning principles. I think that is going to be the name of the game. My granddaughter's school is starting on e-learning platform. Online learning is going to start in Abhinav school. So I think everyone is talking about e-learning these days, online courses. So maybe students are not very happy because they are missing their friends when they used to meet. Mothers are not happy because the kids are at home. So, but then, yes, you have to flow as per the tide. So e-learning, definitely I see a big avenue which is opening up, which can be added in the other opportunities. So students who are in the process of making their choices for careers should take e-learning as one of those career choices. Yes.
Today only, I think Baiju advertisement I saw, the 2,000 recruitments that they are looking into.
Yes. In fact, I worked for somebody, placement of somebody in a digital marketing organization. Now, digital marketing organizations online have been advertising for recruitment. So at some place, people are talking about retrenchment like in automotive sector, but then the digital marketing companies are advertising for recruitment. So,
Yes.
well, this is there. And that is what I was saying. Yeah, door closes, 10 doors open. So you need to keep looking for those 10 doors which all are opening. Yeah.
Certainly. Thank you for the answer, sir. Sir, we have another question from the chat box. It is being asked by Mr. Prathamesh Pendarkar. Sir, the question is, sir, how will you motivate the young ones for Make in India so that we can set up the business? Adding to this, my personal question was also like this: how the startup culture is going to help India's growth and the dream of becoming a 5 trillion economy. If you can please guide us.
Yeah. Make in India has been there for the last 5 years. It was not taken very seriously. The way I talked about Industry 4.0, if we had taken Make in India as a concept, it was very good. And if we had taken it seriously today, we would not be in a position where we need to wait for another 2 years to find replacements for imports which we are doing. We have almost around $60 billion of trade deficit with China. So the $270 billion which the government announced, of that $60 billion, if we balance this trade between China, or we reduce that $60 billion, we need to provide only $210 billion. You get my point. So Make in India is certainly a backbone of our country, not really deviating from the WTO guidelines. So what we have been saying is that Make in India is really taken in totally wrong perspective by most of the people overseas. So I spoke 2 years ago in Malaga in Spain on this topic, Make in India. And that is where I clarified. The government of India, when it says Make in India, it does not say that you make it in India and sell it in India also. You can sell anywhere you want. But as far as meeting the requirements of India are concerned, you have to make it in India. Because India is a large country, we need employment, we need technology, and we need to survive as a country. So therefore, if you are going to encash upon the markets which are created in India, you need to make those products in India so that the Indian people get the employment, or Indian people get the advantage of the technology and things like that. So when you clarify the concepts, I think this is a very logical step. You can see practically every country today is doing the same thing. It's just that they don't announce that, yes, we have been announcing Make in India, don't announce it. So Make in India is going to become very important. And this is where the young students are going to come very handy with their ideas and create a startup. I have been always advocating a concept of entrepreneurship rather than seeking a job, try to give a job. Whatever that small idea may be, you may create an employment for 2 additional people. At the same time, you will get that satisfaction of becoming an entrepreneur. And today you may have a strength of 3, but tomorrow you can give employment to 30 people. So this is the dynamics which people have got to understand, come out of their comfort zone of getting salaries on 1st of every month and take challenges, because unless and until you struggle, you don't get what you want. There are several such success stories which we keep reading because of the digital explosion that we have it. I think all such materials are available. The richest man in the world, Jack Bezos, if we go down, he was sitting in a single room, one person. I think most of us know about it. And today he's the richest person. Now, if he's walked certain path, we can create our own path to maybe not become Jack Bezos, but then somebody which satisfies oneself. And that is what I always have been advocating, that don't look for a job. Today, there are no jobs, primarily, to tell you frankly. Not many people are going to get good jobs, at least in this period of a year or so. But then you don't need to hold up, because there is another onslaught of demand, which is going to come from relocation of factories or export increment. And that is where you can create your own facilities or small startups and then contribute to the Indian economy.
Thank you, sir. So there is another question from the chat box. Mr. Rahul Jagtap, Dr. Rahul Jagtap is a colleague. He wants to ask you, as you are running a core-based industry, I mean the mechanical industry, what will be the scenario for mechanical engineering students or mechanical industries after this COVID?
As I said, meaning in my lectures in MMCOE also, that no singular education or a degree is going to help you out. You need to have substantiated side courses or degrees to enhance your skill sets. By simply obtaining a mechanical engineering degree, yes, you can survive wherever you want to go. But then if you have set certain higher objectives for that, you need to acquire certain additional skills. Like Deshpande sir was saying, e-learning. Well, you can create a business out of e-learning. Being a mechanical engineer, you can create an opportunity for an engineering college to institute a e-learning package or a distance learning, what we say, or an online courses which we can start. So a mechanical engineer per se is not going to go waste. Please understand, he will get job. But then the thing is that we have been always talking that we need to have a growth. So if we need to have a growth, we need to come into competition. When we are going to get into competition, we need to acquire certain skill sets which other people keep acquiring it. Because even today, my grandson is studying in 6th standard and he's completed 4 years of robotic automation classes. Can you imagine? Meaning, it simply baffles me the way he operates his gadgets. This is going to be the competition. And not that everyone is not aware of that. So there is no question of you being lethargic when you are supposed to work. And there is not going to be a substitute to hard work and a hard, diligent and intelligent work. Because there are so many people who keep doing hard work, but then that's not very intelligent. So we need to really define that set of hard work. So there is no reason to get demotivated today. As I said, this is only a pause button which has been pushed. It might last for another 6 to 8 months time, but the opportunities are going to be open and there are going to be plenty of the opportunities. But then we need not sit tight. You have 6 months period to rethink, cleanse your system, cleanse your thinking, and then try to evaluate a strategy for yourself. Like Mr. Kathuria, Anuj Kathuria, he, who is the CEO of Ashok Leyland, he defined it in 5 R's. In one of the articles I read, I think I should give it to the students also. He said that the first R is the resolve. Get your bearings right. The second one is the resilience. Never say die attitude. So you build your resilience. I'm not going to die with this pandemic. You have that courage with yourself. Reimagine, which is a new future that you need to imagine. That's what I'm saying, that people have to use this time to reimagine themselves, restart, that is getting back to the table where you start again, and recovery. growth in the new normal. That's what he says. Okay, that in that recovery phase, whatever is that new normal, you have to learn to create that growth path. Please understand, all those adventurous industrialists or all those industrious people have been pitching for growth only. Some people attain it, some people don't, but then they have that objective. So as an individual, as a student, in engineering college or wherever I am, I need to have a goal set for myself that 10 years hence I would be this, 20 years hence I would be this. And if I decide that particular goal today, yeah, after 20 years, I want to become that. What all those skill sets are required to become that, he needs to really do it today, because today is the only time. Once he gets into the rut, he is not going to get that time to add to the skill sets.
Yes, sir. Well said, sir. Sir, I have a personal question to you. I am being observing you and following you since last many years, and I'm amazed with the kind of energy and enthusiasm you always portray in front of all the students and to us. So, sir, this brings to the question, like, how important it is to have good ethics, values, and beliefs as compared to skills. I mean, can you please briefly elaborate on this?
One thing is sure, that character plays a very, very important role in life. When I define character, a human being has 90 traits, and each of those traits constitute a particular value system or a definition going towards a particular objective. So if I really want to become a marketing man, the marketing man may require 12 to 15 traits out of those 90 traits. And I must know what are those 12 traits, and then I must start building on them. So if I become a good marketing man, I need to have following that ethical practices. When I go and sit in front of the customer must always feel that he is a genuine guy, he is an authentic guy. Whatever he says is truth, and he does business ethically. So on ethics of business, I have given several lectures. So ethics is a very, very important part of individual personality as such, and therefore you must build up those things, character, the way it is required by others. Now, talking about the energy is something which is directly proportional to your thoughts. If you think you are so many years old, then you feel that you are old. But then I treat age as a number. I have so many things to do. Then those things go in priority. I don't think about my age. It's only certain physical limitations are there. To that extent, I think digital platforms have made it very, very easy. So I'm becoming more active. And as I said, that it's a part of the personality that you need to be a genuine person. That's all. Somebody's hit Prasad.
Shall we continue with more questions? Or?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
There is a question on electronic industry. Can we create the components as good as China makes and at that much lower price? That is the question.
Yeah, I told you that I have an electronics company in my group only. My daughter and my son-in-law manages that. And I also gave an example that today we are importing components from China, like small switches and all, because they are cost effective. Quality-wise, those kind of switches are available in India, but the cost does not match. And the reason for cost is the scalability. That's what I told. That the denominator has to increase, therefore the cost will come down. So the volume production is the only reason for that, and that is where I have been saying all along that India is too good on high-tech, low-volume products, and we miss out on low-tech, high-volume products. So volume game is going to really control the cost, and that is where we need to create demands, which is where I said we need to become a global player. That all that we produce may not get consumed in domestically, so we need to have global footprint. And electronics industry certainly has a potential. As I said, medical electronics is going to open up in a very big way. And in automotive sector also, 40% of a car is electronics only. So electronics is definitely going to play a big role in the coming industry. So whoever is in the electronic zone, I think they should be very happy about it.
Can I take up the question?
Yeah.
That was on electronics, I suppose. And there is a question by Aditya. I could not make it out, but what he says is,
Gig economy, yeah, gig economy. You know, spot jobs. Gig economy is flourishing, as you have seen it. As I said, that e-commerce is flourishing, so the gig economy also will flourish. But then it has its own advantages and it has its own disadvantages.
Good afternoon. Good evening, sir. Prasad here again. I got
okay. Yes, okay.
Anyway,
so
sir.
I thought somebody hit you.
No, sir. No, sir.
All questions are covered, I think. Yeah, questions are covered. You can take it.
So
I have my friend Mohan. I wanted him to also put his comments and give his thoughts. If Mohan, you can please.
Shailendra does a wonderful session, absolutely packed with relevant information and carried through very logically. So it's been a pleasure listening to you. I can see the opportunities as you have described and the vulnerabilities that we need to take care of. I don't think anybody could have summarized it better than you did. So it's a great learning for me to have listened to your talk. Going forward, there are brick and mortar companies that still need to exist. Now, those brick and mortar companies will continue to have their own cycle of things that need to be done. Now, for instance, if you take construction industry, let's say housing construction or construction of bridges, construction of flyovers, roads, etc., etc. You have the oil industry from where I come. While I would personally allow that we moved into electrical mobility much faster, but this industry is not going to vanish in a short time. So I think while what you have indicated is a great area, which is where we must concentrate, we also need people to keep these brick and mortar companies also moving. Because if they don't, then you will start having an imbalance again. So as a country, we need to keep our focus on the emerging side, while at the same time not losing sight of the need to keep the engine running. So, so that's the only comment I would like to add.
Thank you, Mohan. Very, very valid. Because we, as our democratic setup here, we have certain social objectives also. Well, technology, productivity, volumes, scalability, everything is fine to take care of economy. But then there is a social aspect of employment also, that we cannot be doing away with the workforce which is there, which is largely dependent on the industry. So we need to provide a balance, as you said it very, very rightly. So I think it's a very valid point. Yeah. Deshpande sir. Hello. I think it has paused. Something happened, I think, Mohan.
The power switch over to place. So I think everything was lost. Yeah. So great. So that is wonderful.
Hi there.
Hi.
This is Mohan.
Oh, you can
Hi.
see me. Yeah. Yeah. I was just wondering.
Prasad. Hi, Baba. I don't know. I'm glad, Mohan, you were there.
Yeah. I appreciated every bit of the input that I got from you.
I have a document. I'll share it with you.
Sure. Sure. That'd be good.
Normally, I don't work with PowerPoints because then I need that eye-to-eye contact.
Right.
We come from the days of Pataki, where he used to really move around and talk. So it is in the same manner. Just one second. प्रसाद सगळेच बाहेर आहेत तुमच्यापैकी कोणीच नाही आहे आतमध्ये तर ते समअप करायचं होतं ते जरा मग काय करायचं काय मीटिंग एंड नाही झाली लोक काही तुम्ही एंड केलंच नाही ना अजून त्यामुळे there are people who are missing out other than I think Mohan is there आता हे हेमंत पिसाळ आले
connectivity problem is here, sir. So due to that, it was disconnected.
तुम्ही कोणाच्या तरी कडनं तरी ते कन्क्लूड करा ना
Assistant professor in mechanical engineering. So we also facing the connection issue. So just give us 5 minutes.
Yeah, no problem. I don't depend on the internet, so I carry my own.
Yes.
Because everywhere there is a problem. So many webinars taking place. I do my own.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. We'll just try to call Prasad sir, so that he will be connected very soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Connection is reconnected. It is. So he will join within a minute.
Yeah. We should have a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
I had proposed it in a WhatsApp, this thing, that we should have a Zoom meeting, just have a chat for an hour or so.
We actually taken that forward. We did put up a meeting, but the number of participants were very low. Either they didn't see the message.
No, I didn't get any.
Oh, you didn't? We put it in the group. We first, the Bangalore people, we had a Zoom meeting. And then we said, okay, it's a good idea. So let's ask everybody to participate. And we put a message in the group.
No, I didn't see it.
Oh my God. So anyways, after that we abandoned. It was almost about 3-4 weeks ago. Immediately after your message.
Yeah, maybe you have to take Thakkar offline. Otherwise, nobody will be able to speak. Thakkar and Paul are fighting. How's Bangalore on pandemic?
No, Bangalore is completely normal, almost normal.
Okay.
Malls have opened up yesterday, and restaurants have started operating. So on the roads, you find the traffic levels have come back with a vengeance. People
people who are staying at home, they have decided कि चलो यार अभी
I've sent you the word file, Mohan.
Okay, I'll take a look.
Yeah.
This is one of the problems we need to fix, you know, this connectivity. All over the country.
Yeah, so many people are using this. The bandwidth is not there.
Yeah, bandwidth is not there. So sudden rush and therefore the highway gets choked.
Yeah, and I think this is what it is. But touchwood, I have not relied on the normal track. So I keep my own Airtel 4G connection,
Yeah.
which I carry myself for mobile as well as laptop. So I
Right.
have a totally uninterrupted presentation.
Right.
Because this whatever Hathway or other tower networks are there, I think they have problems. And now the weather is stormy. We are expecting rains. We had good amount of storm last week. That also keeps disturbing. So I want to be on my own. Real issue. Thank God, at least it came at the end. We could go through the session.
Yeah. Session was uninterrupted, so that is the silver lining.
Yeah.
But Pune, the power cuts are frequent, is it?
No, Pune is not power cut problem.
Okay.
The network is the problem.
Okay.
Yeah, Prasad is here.
He has to unmute it.
Yeah.
आवाज
Ala. Unmute kara Prasad.
Goswami sir, Prasad here again.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just got connected again from a friend's login. So sir,
Okay.
we have like all the questions covered.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have covered all the questions. So I would like to do the vote of thanks formality now. Sir, on behalf of Marathwada Mitra Mandal's College of Engineering, I thanks a lot to Dr. Shailendra Goswami, sir, who has given his valuable time and guidance. Along with us, we have Sir Dr. S.M. Deshpande, sir, who is the principal at MMCOE, and we have also joined with some of the HODs and faculty members, and Mr. Mohan, sir,
Thank you.
who has also taken out some time from his busy schedule and given guidance to all of us, who had attended this session and got benefited. So I would request Goswami sir, in future also, if we have more of these type of sessions, it will be a privilege to host you, sir.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I have to spend only an hour and 30 minutes of talking and 30 minutes of question answer. So I have no problem on that. Talking is not a problem. you can give me any topic, I'll talk. Yeah.
Certainly.
In fact, I'm speaking on 22nd of June.
So thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. I'm speaking on 22nd of June in an international conference, which was to be held in Vietnam, but now it is being held digitally.
Digitally.
So I'll be sending you the link also on that.
Sure, we'll be very happy to join that, sir.
Yeah. I'll send it to you. It will be there on my LinkedIn and Facebook. Thank you very much for this opportunity, Prasad. And regret
you so much, sir.
the inconvenience caused to you guys because of the network. Yeah.
Nice, sir. The fault was
Oh,
on
I see.
our
Okay.
side. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Mohan, sir, thank you.
Okay,
Shall we?
bye.
Shall we? Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Mohan, see you. Bye. Bye.
We can close the meeting, sir. We can close the meeting.
Yeah, thank you. Prasad, मला ती लिंक पाठवा.